A very good afternoon to all of you, and welcome to this talk conducted by Global Education and Training Institute. I, Sumita Bhatt, the host for the talk today, is very warmly welcoming currently the topic for the show that has to be delivered by none other than Miss Esther Vazquez. And the topic that she's going to deliver her speech today is the positive impact of emotional literacy in the teaching and learning process. I would like to introduce you all first to Miss Esther. She is an experienced and passionate teacher and a teacher trainer. She holds a BA in Educational Management, a master's degree in neuroscience for educators, and has specialized in the fields of neuro learning, neurodiversity, and social emotional learning. Over the last 10 years has been her area of work. Esther is founder and CEO of Avenue Educational Consultancy and an academic consultant for National Geographic Learning. Since 2015, she has delivered presentations all over South America, in Central America, and in the USA. In 2017, she was granted a professional development scholarship by TESOL International. And now it's over to you without much ado to Miss Esther for the positive impact of emotional literacy in the teaching and learning process. Let's hear straight away from her.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, let's get started. First of all, I want to give you a very warm welcome. I do not know if you can see my presentation. Can you see it well?
Yeah, we can see your presentation very well. Please go ahead.
Okay. So, as I was telling you, I want to give you a very warm welcome in my name and on behalf of Evenio Educational Consultancy, of which I am CEO. So that's, well, let's move on and let's talk about the importance of, as we said before, right, the importance of emotional literacy, right, in the teaching and learning process. So to begin with, yes, I want to show you the agenda, right, that we're going to share today. Can you see the agenda properly? Can you see that slide? Can you please let me know if you see the agenda properly? Yes, all right, all right. So we will be talking about empowering learning environments. We will be talking about emotions and emotional literacy. We will be talking about the power of yets. And we will be finally doing a final recap, right? So I want to be sure that you are seeing my slide. Yes, or if I'm stuck in the first one, I need that confirmation. You see my agenda right now, don't you? Yes, just let me know through the chat. Yes, all right, thank you. I can read your comments here. I'm on Facebook. I'm seeing you as from Facebook. So I'd be more than glad to read any comment, any question, right? If I can catch it while I deliver my talk. So let's move on to the next slide, right? And there's a phrase here which I love, yes, which I think all of us educators may very well agree with. That is, educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. So we have now come to know very well that educating the heart, educating emotions is of utmost importance. And this is why we are talking about this today, right? So I want to quote here again somebody whom I profoundly admire, that is Maria Montessori. And Maria Montessori says that all children can explode into learning, right? What I in fact believe, yes, is that it's all children can explode into learning, and that we can say that all learners can explode into learning, right? It's not just children. It doesn't matter your age. We can all learn at every moment in our lives. And that's very good news, isn't it? Because we do not explode, taking her own, let's say, term, we cannot explode into learning some things all at the same time. Yet, in this belief that we can all grow into learners, right? Into proficient learners, but at different times, I mean, gives us this chance to believe in ourselves, right? So that's why I love this quote, this positive belief that all of us can explode into learning, right? So, something very relevant as teachers, as educators, is to show our students that we believe, we know that they may have weaknesses. We all have weaknesses, but that we have strengths as well, right? And that we will always try to focus on our strengths, obviously, to tackle the weaknesses too. But basically, because we want to see that the other one feels empowered. Yes, because the other one must see that we observe and see their strengths, right? Not just the weaknesses. And I'll go back onto the slide here so that you can see it, right? And so the important thing is to see that students realize that we will try to help them to see that some things that they might feel impossible might be turned into possible. It might take longer time to some students. Yet, the important thing is that they see that we will be there to scaffold them, right? To support their process of learning. Some students have an I can't mindset. I can't do this. I can't learn this. So, students must see that we as teachers will be there present to try and see that they believe in themselves, right? That they believe in their own I can, not just on their I can't, right? Now, I have a question for you, right? I would like you to tell me, yes, what you think should be the first goal of every educator so that learning takes place in every lesson. We may have many objectives as educators, we know. Now, let's think about which could be the one of utmost importance so that there is, let's say, some movement in this process of teaching and learning, right? Which should be the most, or which is the most important goal you and I, all of us who are educators, should have in mind so that learning takes place. Let's think about it. If you want to just write in the chat box, right? Or I can read you through Facebook, right? Um, well, basically, yes, although we may have to obviously plan our lessons, we must know the topic, we must see that students, let's say, pay attention. There are very many issues that we have to take into account so that learning takes place. But you know what research shows us? It shows us that the most important thing that we as educators have to do is to create resonant environments. Mm? What does a resonant mean in Daniel Goleman's, this specialist in emotional education, mean? What does resonant mean? It means an unthreatening environment, an environment where I can make mistakes, where I can be myself, although mistakes have to be tackled, definitely, but I can be fully accepted. If I feel that I'm fully accepted, if I feel that my weaknesses are accepted to be tackled as well, obviously, but if I can see that there's acceptance of my person, yes, I can be ready or more ready to start learning. So the most important, the key issue is to see that we can create a resonant environment. So I added here, right, some characteristics of a resonant environment. A resonant environment is the one that offers routines, yes, where students of any age, not just young learners, learners of every age, can kind of know what's going to happen next. Yes, what the teacher regularly does, Routines are really, or make us feel protected somehow, right? There should be an enriched learning environment, a classroom where I can have access to visual information, auditory information, if possible, right? Multiple approaches to teaching, yes? See that the same issue is taught not just visually or auditorily. See if we can visually input, kinesthetic input, right? Auditory input. Then see that tasks are graded, yes, from simple to more complex. What else do I need for a resonant environment to be there? Well, I need collaboration. We as human beings strive for collaboration. We may be more kind of self-centered at times, yet we are better with others, right? And we know that we have survived as a species because we have collaborated with each other. Then this question of acceptance. If I feel that I am accepted, I will be definitely more prone to learn. There should be acceptance. I should have mindful others in a resonant environment. I should receive positive reinforcement. And then in bigger print, we see we need a supportive, caring teacher. We need, as I said before, an unthreatening environment. And to kind of summarize everything, we need an encouraging emotional climate. And then all the rest that we said before is necessary. A teacher who knows the topic, a teacher who knows about classroom management, but basically this question of having an encouraging emotional climate where I can feel safe. Now, we have to know that what we teach, the content, is definitely important. We have to teach content, obviously. We have to grade that content. Now, the how we teach it, the process, and the learning environment is the very, really important thing before. Yes, we need the content, we need an expert teacher, but we need a resonant environment, a positive learning environment where acceptance of my person is perceived. Yeah. So, why is it important to tackle this issue of the emotional world? Well, because we are feeling creatures. Until the 20th century, mid 20th century, everybody believed that the rational side of the human being was the one that controlled his or her deeds. But we know, and we learned this, right, by mid 20th century, towards the end of the 20th century, that although most of us, yes, and this is a saying by Damasio, right, this Portuguese American neuroscientist who coined this, right, site, which I like quoting in my presentations when I talk about emotional literacy. He says in his book, Descartes' Error, he says, most of us think of ourselves as thinking creatures that feel. But actually, we are actually feeling creatures, deeply feeling creatures that think. Yes? Remember that the limbic system, yes, kind of the seat of the emotional world, first appeared in small mammals about 150 million years ago. 150 million years ago. Why? The neocortex, the seat of all rational thinking, the part of the brain that makes us, let's say, clearly human, has been with us, has began its spectacular expansion in mammals around scarcely 2-3 million years ago. So emotions have been with us for far, far longer. That's why we learn this through Damasio and then other neuroscientists who have confirmed this, right? Most of us think of ourselves as thinking creatures that feel as if feelings were secondary to us, when in fact they are of utmost importance. And that's what we have to know and teach our students about emotional literacy. Yes, because I added here this, which is an extract from this book from Goldman about education, emotional education, right? Emotional literacy. He says, our feelings are always with us, but we are rarely with them. But mind you, people who are enabled to know their feelings are at a tremendous disadvantage. It takes a pause to become sensitive to the subterranean murmur of mood. Remember, feelings power emotions, and emotions are central to human behavior. There's always an emotion, or there's always a mixture of emotions with us. We are fully, greatly emotional beings, right? Therefore, as I said before, talking about, learning about the world of emotions really gives us the chance to become better selves, right? Now, today, as we said at the very introduction, we will be dealing a little bit more in depth into this topic of emotional literacy, right? So, what is an emotion? Here, there's a kind of definition. It's not, let's say, comprehensive. It's not the only. It does not cover probably every single aspect, but it's quite complete. And we say here an emotion is an affective state that we experience, a subjective reaction to the environment that is accompanied by organic changes, both physiological and endocrine. And they are of innate origin, but influenced by experience. Emotions have an adaptive function to our organism and to what surrounds us. So we will now kind of break this definition into some little parts to explain this about the world of emotions a bit more clearly. So, as we've just said, emotions have different components. The first one, the one that is nearly imperceptible, is the behavioral. Yes, when we are starting to experiment a certain emotion, there are certain gestures, sometimes they are micro gestures, microfacial gestures that are nearly imperceptible, and yet we are, let's say, presenting them. Postures, right? Typical ways or different ways in which we are standing or bending. Yes. And this is the order in which these components appear, one after the other, very close one after the other, yet in this order. Yeah. The second component is the physiological. Sometimes we start feeling a lump in the throat or tachycardia, or we start breathing faster and faster. We might start having a dry mouth, and because of, let's say, we are nervous, or yes, because of different reasons. But we have so the behavioral, the physiological components, and then first, but after these two, comes the cognitive component, the kind of, well, we can give an explanation to what's happening to us. So emotions present themselves in this order: behavioral, physiological, cognitive. Yes, that's why when we say that we want to, for example, we are experimenting an emotion, we are angry, let's suppose, it would be very hard to start or to start changing that emotion by the cognitive component. We should try and see if we can start relaxing, go for the behavioral, relaxing our body if we are too tense, the physiological, trying to see if we can breathe more slowly so that calmness is felt in the body, and gradually the cognitive may accompany the rest. It would be very tough to start by saying, I have to be calmer, I have to be calmer. It's not a question of decision. It's a question of accompanying with the three components. So one question is, right, can we say that emotions are positive or negative? Well, in fact, we cannot say that emotions are positive or negative. Emotions are neither one nor the other. Yes, what we can say is that all emotions are pro survival. They are there with us to inform us. If we are angry, that emotion is informing us about something. That emotion is telling us something that is always pro survival. Yes, if I'm very sad, that emotion is telling me something. Probably I'm in the wrong place or with the wrong people, having the wrong conversation, remembering the wrong thing or the something unpleasant, yes, at a certain moment. But emotions are always there to protect us. They're always there to announce, to let us know something. Yeah. So what we can say so is that emotions are neither negative nor positive. Yes, yes, what we can say is that they are pleasant or unpleasant. It's true that at times it's very unpleasant to feel sad, yet it's pro survival. That emotion is announcing something, is telling me something about the environment, about my thoughts, about the people I am with. Yes, so it may be unpleasant to feel sad. It may be unpleasant to feel nervous. It may be unpleasant, yet that's not negative. Those emotions are announcing something that, as I said before, is pro survival in every case. So I quoted before Daniel Goleman, right? And remember, well, this is a quote, yes, by him when talking about emotional intelligence. And he says, emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize one's own emotions, those of others, and to know how to manage them. Yeah. So there's an acronym that kind of summarizes, let's say, what emotional literacy or emotional intelligence is about. And the acronym is RULER. So we can say that emotional literacy, emotional intelligence has to do with the R, recognizing emotions in self and in others, being aware of my own emotions and being aware of what emotions the others might be experiencing, which are neither positive or negative. They are simply pleasant or unpleasant. The U, which has to do with understanding the causes and consequences of emotions. What may it be that is making me feel this rough or this uncomfortable? What is it? So once we start to understand the causes, we start experimenting certain calmness, certain easiness. Then this question of labeling emotions accurately, giving them the proper name. Is it that I am angry or that I am too nervous? Because at times when we do not label them properly, we still feel more uneasy. So the fourth element of emotional literacy has to do with the E, expressing emotions appropriately. One thing is what I feel, another thing is how I express that I feel. And it has to do with the R, that is regulating emotions effectively. Yeah? Which is not suppressing the emotion, controlling, hiding. It's not that. Emotions will be there and will be exerting pressure if we do not kind of pay attention to them. But yes, it has to do with the regulation. Yes? Why? Let's move on to the next slide. Because what is important is that, as we said before, emotions are neither positive nor negative. They're always pro survival. Now, what can be positive or negative is what I do when experimenting a certain emotion. And there's a mindful difference between responding and reacting. Reacting is a kind of short and one way path. Yes, I feel this, I react. Responding takes a little bit longer. It's kind of giving some more seconds to process what I'm feeling before I do something with that I'm feeling or experimenting. So we can say that reactions are instant, that reactions are driven by beliefs, sometimes by biases, right? By my own conceptions, which are just my own conceptions, right? Um, by my prejudices, yes, questions of the unconscious mind. Generally, they are done without thinking. And in many cases, that's more than good, right? Because, for example, if I see I'm standing at the bus stop, I see a car coming in my direction, I need to react, yes, immediately. I would be rather silly to start thinking, oh, what should I do? Should I move backwards? Should I stay here? No, we should react. Yes, there are moments when reaction are definitely pro survival as well, right? But we have to see, yes, that at times they are not. Yes. Why? Because they may be more of a defense mechanism. And sometimes they may be regretted. Yes. So when talking about responses, right, we see that on the other hand, they happen more slowly. Yes. And we see that they are based on information from both subconscious but also conscious mind. I give some more seconds to myself to see what I'm going to do with that emotion. Something else that they are, I mean, when we are able to respond, it's because we are taking into consideration our own well-being and the well-being of others. Then generally, although we may take just some more seconds, if we are able to respond generally, it's because we are able to weigh long-term effects of that we are going to do. And last but not least, yes, when we are able to respond generally, it's because we are able to stay in line with our core values. All right. Now, there's an issue here. We have to talk about, yes, um, a little bit more about emotional literacy. And emotional literacy has to do with what I feel, and what I do with my feelings. So one thing is recognizing, right? This. That is, well, as regards personal, the personal field is, I mean, when I am self-aware of what I am feeling, when I can name my emotion. And then in the personal field, yes, we have to talk about self-regulation, what we've just been saying until now, right? So I am self-aware and I am able to self regulate. When talking about the emotions of others, those others maybe are students, yes, and we are talking about developing social competence, is when I am able to become socially aware, to try to read what emotion the other one or the other ones are experimenting. And then let's see what I do with that, right? How I interact with them, although they may be angry, although they may be impolite. I may be able to name that they are doing or that they are experimenting. But the better able, let's say, that I am to interact with those who may not be experimenting the best of emotions. Yes, the more literate I am, the better as regards my social competence, right? Now, I left there heart because I wanted to say, well, at times we may know what emotion we are feeling. We may know that it would be very, very good to self regulate, and yet we may feel very sad or still very angry and find it very difficult to self regulate. So it takes time. We may fall 7 times, let's get up 8. We may not want to react, and yet we are reacting or overreacting. It takes time. It takes time to make the new ourselves, let's say, to stay there with us, right? So it's a question of habits. Now, when talking about emotions, the best teachers are the ones who, remember, who connect with their students in meaningful ways. It's not just I listen to what you're saying. Yes, I hear. It's I listen to, I pay attention to what you're saying. I connect with you. We human beings need deep connection. When we see that the other one is looking at us in the eyes, the other one is really listening, yes, to what we are saying. So teachers, yes, who connect with their students in meaningful ways are teachers who can really handle emotions better. So teachers who believe in their students, as we said at the beginning, they notice their weaknesses, yet they can know very well that every learner has strengths as well. So we cannot focus only on the weaknesses, right? So we're talking about emotions. The best teachers are the ones who make an effort to understand their own emotions and choose the best way to express them. Are those teachers who teach their students to become emotional literate, to those teachers who let them know that emotions are always there with us and that they are neither good nor bad. But yes, what could be good or bad is what we do with the emotion. If we tend to react rather than to respond. Hmm? So, coming back to emotional literate teachers, yes, we can say that the best ones are the ones who create a resonant environment, right? A resonant environment where, as we've been saying until now, the others feel accepted, the other ones feel capable, the other ones feel, um, let's say, welcome. Yes. So, remember, emotions have roots in these three elements. A genetic predisposition, we cannot that's with us. It's come with us, but that's not the only thing. So very good news are coming or is coming. Uh, Emotions have their roots in personal history and earlier imprints. Remember, the first 7 years of life are very relevant as to how a child, yes, is going to develop into an adolescent and a future, let's say, adult. So we should see those earlier imprints because they are of real great value, right? Now, the very good news is this. Yes, emotions have their roots as well in any effort forward we have made to manage our emotional world. So when we say, I'm this way because I've always been like this, no, that's a decision you're making because you can make an effort forward. You can make an effort to change certain, let's say, aspects of your emotional world, but it takes, let's say, it takes, as we said before, time to probably become a habit. Yes, it demands determination. So there is a genetic component. Our emotional world has to do with our early, let's say, times in life or childhood. But fortunately, they have to do too with every effort we make so as to change some aspects of our emotional world. Yes, so we can become emotional literate up to the very last day of our lives. And that's the good news, right? Because it's not I am like this, and this is kind of mean I am determined to keep on being like this. Let's have a look, let's watch this video, which tells us about neuroplasticity. And this is an element which definitely shows us, yes, since the brain is neuroplastic, that we can change, that we are not doomed to be the way we are if we are not satisfied with us, if with that, or if we are not satisfied, or we see that we are having, let's say, rather negative encounters with others, we can change. Yeah. So let's watch this video about neuroplasticity, yes, and how we can change some things we not like in ourselves, right?
Not so long ago, many scientists believed that the brain did not change after childhood, that it was hardwired and fixed by the time we became adults. But recent advances in only the last decade now tell us that this is simply not true. The brain can and does change throughout our lives. It is adaptable, like plastic. Hence, neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity. How does neuroplasticity work? If you think of your brain as a dynamic, connected power grid, there are billions of pathways or roads lighting up every time you think, feel, or do something. Some of these roads are well-traveled. These are our habits, our established ways of thinking, feeling, and doing. Every time we think in a certain way, practice a particular task, or feel a specific emotion, we strengthen this road. It becomes easier for our brains to travel this pathway. Say we think about something differently, learn a new task, or choose a different emotion. We start carving out a new road. If we keep traveling that road, our brains begin to use this pathway more, and this new way of thinking, feeling, or doing becomes second nature. The old pathway gets used less and weakens. This process of rewiring your brain by forming new connections and weakening old ones is neuroplasticity in action. The good news is that we all have the ability to learn and change by rewiring our brains. If you have ever changed a bad habit or thought about something differently, you have carved a new pathway in your brain and experienced neuroplasticity firsthand. With repeated and directed attention towards your desired change, you can rewire your brain.
Okay, so we see this is very good news. We can rewire our brain, and students of every age should know this. Yes, even adults who may feel that they are the way they are and that's it, right? No, we can change, we can modify habits, traits, deeds, and doings, right? The point is that it takes time, but fortunately, yes, if we start navigating new paths, yes, and we make that, let's say, a frequent, or we make those frequent paths, right? We can change the way we are. We can change certain attitudes we may not like, or we may find are not the best, right, for us, for ourselves, and for others, right? So, one thing we have to know is that there lies our freedom. Yes, we are free to choose whether to stay the way we are, whether to overreact if we are generally doing it, or if we want to make a change. There lies our freedom. We know we are not predetermined by genetics or by the earlier imprints in life. Any movement forward, yes, to change counts and may rewire old patterns. The point is that we have to make a decision. We have to try hard and hard. Yes, but we are free to choose, and that's very good news, isn't it? So I wanted to to round off to talk a little bit about the importance of yet. Yes, Carol Dweck, yes, speaks about the power of yet. She says it should be like a mantra. At times we may feel we are not good at something, but it's different to believe that I'm not good at something than to believe that I'm not good at something yet. Yes. So we can say, for example, well, I'm not patient enough. No, 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 no. Well, yet. Or I can't help reacting at times. Yet. Oh, no, this doesn't work with me. Oh, this question of emotional literacy. Well, yet. Oh, I can't be tolerant with others when others do X and Y. Well, you can't be tolerant yet, right? It's not the same. It makes us feel and be in a kind of learning curve. So everybody can change. We can become emotional literate. It takes time and it demands a decision on our parts. That's, yes, something that we have to say. I can't change without making a real decision. Yeah. So there's a big difference between not knowing and not knowing yet, right? So I can say I can't be patient, or that student is not tolerant, or that student is not a good learner yet. Yes. So give power and presence to yet, yes, in your lives if you haven't you haven't started doing it yet, right? Okay. So just to round off before we share some questions, right, that you may have or that you may want to share. Yes, let's go for a final recap as to emotional literacy and building an emotional literate world, yes, in our classrooms. Remember, we need to teach our students about emotional literacy. So we have to talk about emotions. We have to say that they have different components. Remember, yes, the cognitive one is not the only one. We have the physical one, the physiological one, yes, and the cognitive component. So we need to see, yes, that if we want to start by the cognitive one, if we want to modify something, we may find it very hard. Yes, teach we have to teach our learners, right, that emotions are neither good nor bad. They are pleasant or unpleasant, but they're always pro survival. They are there announcing us something to protect us, although it may be very unpleasant to experiment some of them. So let's teach the theory about emotional literacy. But then, something very important, let's teach our students to be emotional literate. Yes, to become self conscious, to see, to make them reflect upon their own deeds, about their own words, their own answers. If they respond rather than, or they react rather than respond. So we have to teach them the theory, but that's not enough. We have to try and see that we can help them be emotional literate. Third, and very important, let's model. Because if we do not, let's say, walk our own words, right? Students may feel that, words fall into a vacuum, right? So it's walk your talk. It's not just I teach you, we talk about this, I demand it from you. Yes, I see that your manners are not good and they should be better. And what about myself? Am I modeling correctly? Am I being a good role model about how to manage emotions, how to regulate emotions, not to suppress? Because I may be very angry, and my students have to know that at times it's more than correct that I am angry. The important thing is how to show that I am angry. I cannot just say, well, I'm angry, right? And so that justifies any reaction. No, no. My reactions should be less, and I should have to try and see if I can respond rather than react, right? So the last issue I added, right, as a recap is believe in the power of yet for yourselves and for your learners, right? At times, they might feel that they are unable to respond, that they are too reactive. Well, as we said, right, yet. I can't be patient yet, because it makes us feel that we can still achieve, yes, certain things that we may not be achieving so easily. Remember the importance of habits, right? So I want to share with you one last video, which I really like very much, that has to do with my opening, nearly the opening slide, that had to do with educating the mind without educating the heart is nearly no education at all. Educating only content as regards content and not as regards emotional world, when we know emotions drive all our deeds, right, is half educating. Yes, so it's content, lovely, but then the let's say all the emotional components that have to be taught, yes, that are very relevant as well. So educating the mind and the heart, both should go hand in hand, right? So let's share this video. I hope you like it as much as I do, and it kind of summarizes what I wanted to transmit through this talk today. Let's watch it.
When a child is born, we do everything we can to protect them, nurture them, love them. A child's heart and mind are fragile. As they grow, we want to teach them everything we know. We send them to school to fill their minds with wonderful knowledge, to give them the tools they need for life. At school, they get a taste of what things are like in the world outside. There is friendship, romance, disappointment, embarrassment, discrimination, and bullying. But are the tools we give them enough to prepare them for this world? We have an enormous responsibility and an amazing opportunity. If we truly want to prepare them for the world outside, we must also educate the heart. Because to navigate the world outside with compassion, acceptance, and tolerance, we need to teach them compassion, acceptance, and tolerance. This can begin in our schools, and it can start today. It can happen at hockey practice, dance class, at day camps, and music lessons. And it's already happening around the world with astonishing results. If we want our children to grow into socially and emotionally capable young people, we must ask for a balanced education that puts importance on educating both the mind and the heart.
Okay. So I really love this video. I wanted to share it with you. I think it very well summarizes all that I wanted to transmit through this short session. I hope you liked it. And I just want to round off by telling you thank you. He's giving you a big, big thank you in my name, right? And on behalf of Evenio Educational Consultancy. There are our particulars in case you want to contact us. Thank you very much for this invitation. I felt really happy to receive it, and I'm more than thankful, right, to have been able to share with you this humble presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Miss Esther. And that was lovely hearing to you, watching the videos, and also having an in depth insight into the entire presentation, wherein we got to know it's already there at the back of our mind, but somehow we need to repeat it for ourselves that yes, education for heart is of utmost importance other than educating our own minds.
It's,
So I could see
it's
viewers
disruptive.
joining all the way from Philippines, from Nigeria, from
Yeah.
Bangladesh, from Nairobi, and from India as well. We would like to know from you more into the topic that you had delivered. Is it important for you? What do you think? Is it important to teach students to control their emotions? And
Well,
if yes, then how would we be doing that? How are the educators? What sort of responsibility do we have? And in what direction should we take our actions to?
yes, as I said, probably the best word is not to control. We need to teach them to manage. We need to teach them to become self-conscious about their emotions. But the important thing is that if we talk about control, we might be misguided into thinking that we have to kind of hide. We have to, let's say, deprive ourselves from feeling. And we can't, because we are extremely feeling beings. What we have to teach them is to tackle their emotions, to become self-aware of their emotional worlds, and to regulate their emotions. We have to tell them, as we shared before, that emotions are neither good nor bad. Yes, what we can be good or bad is what we do with the emotions. If we tend to react, we need to start regulating that, right? So it's not so much controlling, it's better, I would say, and more appropriate. We should talk about regulating emotions, right? And
Yeah,
how we can
very
do
true.
it, because sorry, I didn't answer the second part of your question. I would say we have to, as I remember when I closed my presentation, we have to teach them the theory about educational literacy, emotional literacy. But then we need to teach them to be self-conscious. And third, we need to model ourselves.
Definitely, we all do agree with you on those points. And somewhere you did mention about the power of believing in yourself and saying to yourself that yes, I can. How
Yes.
do you portray that?
Well, it's sometimes students come with long histories of frustration, and they say, "I can't do this. I'm not good at this. I'm not good at English. I'm not good." Well, you're not good yet, or you're not that good. I'm sure you have strengths. I may know, we all, and we should, as teachers, admit and let them know that we have lots of weaknesses as well. Yet we have lots of strengths, and we can never achieve great results if we only focus on weaknesses. So talk to your learners about the importance of yet. Yes, you may not be good at English yet. We'll see what we can do to change that reality. English, maths, whatever, right?
Thank you very much, Ms. Esther, for addressing these two questions. And ladies and gentlemen, positive emotions can help a student or any individual engage with learning longer because they stay motivated through that. And if we have positive experiences in our lives, we are more likely to enjoy our schooling and our days of life and develop a love for learning no matter what in what age we are. So, with that, we thank wholeheartedly Miss Esther for joining us and giving us this beautiful insight into the topic that she has selected on emotional intelligence and emotional well being of all of us. And for listening to more such talks, you can partner with us in the Disruptive Literacy Movement. Please mail us at scaleup at globaldream.guru or WhatsApp or call us at 91 740 840 6000. Till we meet next again, it's bye bye from all of us. Thank you very
Bye
much.
bye. Thank you very much. My pleasure, really. Bye bye.